Our second great offer. Here's your ticket to top profits on terror.
Here's to prom night.
Prom night to prom night.
Prom night is coming to high schools across America. Be ready for the big night with the newest addition to the fast-renting Prom Night series. Teens will be screaming for Prom Night 4, Deliver Us from Evil. When you buy 2, you'll get a 3rd copy absolutely free.
So, where is this place that we're going?
My parents' summer home. It's right in the middle of nowhere.
Sounds romantic.
Tonight, a frisky foursome are making their own private party.
Dear me, Father, for how much fun I'm going to have tonight.
They're about to cut loose and have a sinful good time.
Are you attracted to me?
But no, these bad boys and girls are in big trouble.
I know who you are. I saw what you did.
Who's there?
It's too late for you now.
And no ear can hear their cries.
What's happening?
No voice can answer their prayers.
Grant me strength, and I will deliver their souls unto you.
And nothing can save their souls.
We have to get out! We gotta do something!
Prom Night 4, Deliver Us from Evil. Buy 2 and get 1 free from Live.
Prom Night 4, Deliver Us from Evil is a 1992 Canadian slasher film, considered to be part of the Canucksploitation film movement that went on through the 80s and 90s. The film was directed by Clay Borris.
And that means you're gonna see my ugly fucking mug like this?
And stars Nicole DeBoer, who's also in some movies I really like Senior Trip, Cube, and one of my all-time favorite comedies, Kids in the Hall, Brain Candy.
Ow, my fucking finger.
The film also stars James Carver as the murderous priest, Father Jonas. This is the 4th film in the Prom Night series, but largely ignores the events of the 1st and 3rd films. However, the film's opening has some students attending the 1957 Hamilton High prom who leave for some unattended fun and meet a gruesome end. Now, the 1957 Hamilton High prom, as you all know, is the same prom that Mary Lou from Part 2 was attending. And we all know how that turned out. It retains the supernatural elements found in the 3rd and 4th films, and that Father Jonas is not only motivated by revenge from being molested by men of the cloth, but also from the stigmata he receives, taking it as a sign from God to rid the world of sinners.
You're an abomination, Father Jonas.
Abomination. Don't touch him. Not there. He's too young.
Canadian actor Brock Simpson is actually in all 4 of these movies. He was one of the kids in the original, and in this one he plays one of the priests, Father Colin, who is basically responsible for Father Jonas escaping. And this is a bit of a stretch, but I've always thought that the original poster kind of resembled the shot of this church right here. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that one. While it may not be as gory as other slasher films of the time, it is still extremely violent. The film delivers a very menacing slasher in the form of Father Jonas, even having a signature weapon, and God on his side. The film stands out from other slashers released at the time due to its clever use of jump scares and very well put together action set pieces, choosing dark atmosphere over gore and gratuity. This is also one of the first horror movies where the female protagonist winds up saving the day. Canadian director Clay Borris is most well known for his action direction, and it shows in various parts of this film. You can see here in one of his other films, Quite Cool, exactly what I mean.
You're under arrest. The right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. Good thing, man. You cannot afford one will be appointed to you. Let go of me. These are your rights. You understand us? Yeah, let me go. You wish to waive them? Yeah, let me go. Whatever you say, scumbag. Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
And he really put his stamp on Prom Night 4, with shots like this out of completely nowhere, utilizing all the space in these old churches for some really, really cool shots. There are a lot of iconic moments in this film. Let me show you my favorite one.
What the hell? I'm the man. I'll go. Enjoy your slut.
Now, during the second act of the movie, it gets kind of slow, kind of It's shot really dark, so it gets kind of stagnant. But then the third act starts off with a fucked up act of violence that really kicks things into gear. And from here on out, it's a wild ride. I always thought Father Jonas was an equal and underrated member of 90s slashers, and when considering slasher icons who got their start in the 90s, holds up as one of the most menacing.
My kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, ever and ever. Amen.
In fact, I think a certain slasher series from the 90s owes Prom Night 4 a large debt of gratitude.
Yes, hello.
There's a very familiar scene involving a young woman on a phone with a very familiar sounding voice on the other end.
I know who you are. I saw what you did. You're all the same.
Who is?
You're a cocksucker and a fucking whore. It's too late for you now. That was my ex-wife's voice. Yeah.
I mean, it's not confirmed, but if Wes Craven was going to pay homage to this great film, he could have said something. This was the last film in the Prom Night series, although it is left open for a sequel. But what we got was the lackluster 2008 remake. I had the opportunity to talk to director CLAY BORRIS about his time on this film. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, I actually really liked this movie. I've always felt it was very underrated. It doesn't get the credit it deserves at all. The whole thing,
good.
I just loved it.
So you liked the film overall. It was a lot of fun to make, you know. It was great. It's fun doing a horror film because, you know, one of the things you got to do is you're supposed to have, like, every 3 minutes or something, you're supposed to have a thing called a jump, where you make the audience jump. And so when you watch the movie, like, you have to come up with something all the time. Somebody comes in the door, you know, you have to have a jump. Otherwise, horror films don't work without jumps. It's just the way they are. You know, it's not that popular of a movie. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I think the first Prom Night is really popular, but number 4, nobody cares. I've actually got good reviews from that. If you look online, you'll see really good reviews of Prom Night 4, though. I think I did a good job, you know. It was my only horror film, and, you know, I did it. I had fun. It was fucking great. I had a good time doing it. And, you know.
Can you tell us a little bit about the stuff on the roof?
Okay, what happened was on that roof, okay, the actor really was up there.
Whoa.
He was up on the roof, and it was fucking ice. I'm talking about it was one of those icy nights, and it just so happens we're doing a roof fucking shot, and it's pure ice up there. So I said to the actor, fuck, are you sure you want to do this, man? It's fucking dangerous. And he's like, I'll fucking do it. So I was up on a crane with the cameraman, and we're directly above him, and he's really, really sliding on this ice, okay? But we had a rope tied to him that you don't see. We had a cable in case he fell. You can't see it. And we shot it at night, and I'm telling you, he came very close to falling off that roof many times. A lot of actors wouldn't have done that, but he was a good kid. He was a good kid, but he did it. But I was right there beside him on a crane, like looking down at him. I kept on yelling, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, man." And we shot it during the night, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the morning, whatever the fuck it was. That was a very, very hard scene to do, but it was very effective. Yeah, and so when he slides down the roof, you know, the knife comes up, and he has to hang on to it. I came up with that idea. That wasn't in the script. So when you're a director, you have to come up with ideas like that. That's what you do as a director, you know. So I remember that. You know, the biggest mistake I made, I should have had the fingers cut off.
Oh, damn.
And the producer, I remember, said to me, "Fuck, why didn't you show the fingers being cut off? That's how he fell." I said, "I don't know. It's so fucking violent." He goes, "Fuck you, asshole. It's a fucking horror film." Anyway, that's my biggest regret. Every time I see the film, I see I should have just had the fingers go right through. But I don't like that kind of violence. It turns me off, you know, so, yeah. No, things like that are fun to do. When you're doing a horror film, it's really a lot of fun to come up. Like when she's hiding in the, underneath the sink. Remember that? She's hiding under the sink and all that. That kind of stuff is fun to do. It was a pretty big budget film. I think it cost about $4 million or something. You know, it wasn't cheap, right? Because they had made a lot of money with the first 3 films, so they had money to do the 4th. You know, it's called Prom Night 4. It doesn't really have anything to do with prom, you know what I mean? But you know, it doesn't matter. You're doing your own film, and like I know the director who did the number 2, and I remember he called me. He said, "Clay, what a great job, man." I said, "Thank you," because his film was great too, number 2. Like I've done a lot of films, and violence is something like when you're dealing with violence, you got to be careful because, you know, if you go over the top violence, you can turn people off. It's too violent. And you wonder, like, what's violent? Like when that girl in the car getting her throat cut, you know? I thought, fuck, man, that's violent. But, you know, when you're doing it, you're like, okay, well, it's a horror film. So I gotta live with that, right? And I remember the hardest part was getting the actor walking away from the car. When the car blows up, I said, whatever you do, don't blink. Because usually, you know, when a gunshot goes off, everybody blinks. Just watch a movie, like when, especially women, like if they're shooting a gun, they blink every time they shoot. So I said to him, I said, the car's going to blow up over your shoulder. And a lot of actors are really nervous about that kind of thing because who in the fuck wants a car blowing up behind you? And I said, I worked it out. He was safe. And I said, whatever you do, don't fucking blink. And you know what? If you watch the movie, watch the explosion. He doesn't blink. Because, because the way that what you do is like, you know, when somebody plays they're dead or whatever, you always get your actors to stare at one point. Like you stare at something and look at it and you'll look dead. If you don't, you'll blink. So what happens is when I did the thing with him with the car, it's the same thing. I said, just pick a spot to look at just before the explosion and make sure you don't blink. And I guarantee you, go back and watch the movie, you'll see he doesn't blink during the explosion. When we were casting the film, it was really hard to find a girl for the blonde one. You know, I can't remember her name now. in the film. I haven't seen it for years, but you know the blonde girl. Okay, it was really hard to cast that part. We cast the lead girl, the one that at the end that fights him and all that. But the other girl, the blonde girl, it was very hard to cast. So what we did was we have actors that stand in, and what they do is they're the ones who they read with the actors. They're called readers, I think. And what happens is, like, we had this reader who all day read with actors. So we're looking at different actors. You know, I'm talking about 100 people, whatever. As we're reading, the girl that's doing the reading, I looked around to the producer and I said, you know what? She's pretty fucking good. Why don't we test the reader? He's like, what? Are you crazy? She's a reader. I said, yeah, but she's so fucking good. I said, let's try her. So we gave her an audition, and she was great, and she got the part. So she got the part by being a reader. So he was chosen because he was perfect. He was really, really, really good for the part. Yeah, he's fantastic. Because I knew he had the great look. He's got that long hair. It was his natural long hair. And he's really like that. He's a really tense fucking guy. He's very menacing in real life. But, yeah, no, he is. But we became very good friends. He was in a motorcycle gang, I think, when I met him. Yeah, he's calmed down now. He's got a family and kids and everything. But in the old days, he was a pretty wild guy.
So I was thinking, like, Father Jonas does this really bad stuff, and instead of the other priests telling anyone about it, they kind of just cover it up, you know? It kind of rings true. It's kind of like what they do, I guess. Was that ever part of this? Were you conscious of the whole, you know, Catholic Church cover-up thing?
Well, I was raised Catholic, right? So when I was making this thing, I was aware of the Catholic thing all the time. Right? You can't ignore that. But, no, it was a film. I mean, you know, it's a script. You sit there and, I don't know, you know, the script was a script. I mean, like I said, I changed a lot of things, but I can't remember everything I changed. It's impossible. Because as a director, you change things, like, constantly. Like I said, I came up with the idea to make the girl at the end. Before that, it was the guy. I changed it to the girl. And the producers agreed. They went, okay, that's great. All right, we have a girl hero. Okay. Because in those days, believe it or not, in 1991, like, nobody ever made the fucking girl a hero. You know, it was like, they're like, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, yeah. I said, come on, man. Let's make the girl the fucking hero. Why not? I'm fucking bored of the fucking guy saving the day at the end.
What was your involvement in the film Vamp?
Oh, fuck. Okay. Yeah. I was the original director. Yeah. I was going to direct it. I was living in LA at the time. And so I worked on the script. And I came up with all kinds of fucking ideas. And then what happened was the money fell through in Canada, and they ended up hiring this guy who wrote the script, I think. He's a famous writer now. He's done all kinds of big fucking movies, like what the fuck's his name? Hang on. Richard.
Yeah, I think his name was Richard Wenk.
Yes, Wenk, W-E-N-K. That's right. So Richard Wenk ended up directing it. And they gave me that credit because I came up with so many ideas they fucking had to. Yeah. I was the original director for it, though. No, I refused to watch it. It's like, it's one of those things where I was the original director and I got taken off, and it really fucking pissed me off. Place. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things. So I wasn't really mad because it wasn't his fault.
So how did you wind up doing the second unit stuff on Wrong Turn?
No, I only did second unit for my friend Paul Lynch, who came up with the idea and directed the original Prom Night. Okay? And Paul asked me to do second unit for him because he hates doing action. I love doing action. I didn't do second unit for anybody except for my friend Paul. And then because of that, The Wrong Turn called me up, and the guy who was the one of the producers was the guy who did the original Terminator. What's his name? The guy who came up with all the Sam. What's his name? The guy that came up with all the special effects. He's really famous.
Yeah, you're talking about Stan Winston.
Yes.
Winston.
So Sam Winston was a producer of that.
Yeah.
And they called me up and they asked me to do it. And I'm like, you know, I'm a film director. I don't do fucking second unit. I only did it for my friend Paul Lynch. So anyway, this guy calls me up, and the director had seen my film Quiet Cool, and he went, "Holy fuck, we can get that guy to do second unit? Are you kidding me?" So what Stan Winston called me himself on the phone. I'll never forget that.
Damn, that's
he
pretty
said, "This
badass,
is Stan
man."
Winston." I said, "Yeah, right." He said, "Yeah, it is. Seriously." And I said, "Okay." He says, "I want you to, can you do second unit for my movie?" And I said, "Why? Why me? I don't do second unit." He said, "Well, I saw you film Quiet Cool. You're fucking great with action, man." I said, "Oh, okay." So I did it because of him. That's the only reason I've done second unit.
Yeah, so you did all the stuff in the trees and everything.
All that
was
stuff,
probably
yeah.
the best part in the movie. That the
Yeah,
whole sequence in the trees,
I-
whenever the
I
mutants
know.
attack the trees. That's my
I
favorite
know,
part.
I know. The thing is, it's like, but you don't get credit for it, right? Like all the credit goes to the director. Good for him, but he's the one that chose me. I remember sitting in a room with him, and he's fucking interviewing me. I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" I said, "I should be interviewing you, motherfucker. I've done 1 million fucking films." I said, "You're lucky I'm doing this. I'm doing this because Stan Wilson asked me, whatever the fuck." And he's like, "Sorry, sir, sorry." I said, "Okay." You know what I mean? It was one of those things. Like I did it as a favor to Winston, to Stan, whatever the fuck his name is. Because I don't need that shit.
Be sure to subscribe to the page because I'll be posting the full interview with Director CLAY BORRIS, as well as all the other full interviews from all the older videos. On the next episode of Staunch on Film, sticking to our spooky October theme, we dive ass first into director Bob Logan's Repossessed, the film that dared to spoof The Exorcist. We talk about set turmoil and production with him, and get to know superstar Leslie Nielsen just a little bit better. Until next time, folks.
To Jamie Lee Curtis.
Don't forget to rewind.